Plastics. How many of us here, could you just put your hands up? How many of you use plastic? We all do. I know it's convenient, it's easy. If we get takeaway Thai, Chinese, take it home, we've got our plastic containers. Can I ask you, put your hands up, how many of you reuse those plastic containers that you've collected from your local favorite takeaway? We've got some honesty here. We don't have as many hands up. We've got so kind of, well, I don't know really. Convenience, Jeff. We're humans. We love everything to be very, very convenient. So, can you help us? How can we change our behavior so we can reduce our plastic footprint?
I think a lot of people are already changing their behaviour in response to the enormously alarming facts that we're finding out about the impacts of plastic pollution. Clearly we can stop buying those single uses that we then throw away 10 minutes later and replace that with reusable containers, reusable utensils when you go to get your lunch while at work from the cafes. Secondly, we can press governments to introduce laws that require certain products such as the plastic bags, disposable containers, disposable foodware, coffee cups, and get businesses to offer customers either a reusable alternative or don't use a utensil at all, bring one from home, or in fact to provide non-plastic convenience items. Also at a local level, you can push your local businesses and cafes to introduce those plastic-free policies, and TEC and the Boomerang Alliance are going right round Australia helping communities become plastic-free, and we're finding that the businesses, the cafes and the consumers are very happy to make the switch because they want to clean up the environment.
Thank you, Jeff. Think about it. I just want to ask my audience, when you knew that your local Coles or Woolworths were saying to you, hey, we're not giving out plastic bags anymore, could you put your hands up and tell me how many of you were upset about that?
They're not going to tell you that.
Oh, they're very good. No one was upset. So everyone was happy that they had to buy their own bags?
I was extremely happy.
Yay! We had one person who was happy. So it's about time. Gee, this is a great audience here. You're converted. We've got converted people here. That's fantastic. So how many have cloth bags? Do you have cloth? Do you use a cloth bag? Yeah, for doing your grocery shopping? Easy, yes? How many of you have your own coffee cups? Who like to have their coffee in the morning? This is for, there's some, even the boardies at the back? Not yet? You don't drink coffee. What about for tea? Does it matter if you don't drink coffee much? Isn't it cool to have your own cup? Yeah, I think so. It's really good. So we're making, I think most of us are trying to make our own contributions. But Jeff, how successful has TEC been with changing government and business policies? Because they're the big guns. How successful?
One of the things that we've learnt in our almost 50-year history is that you have to mainstream the environmentally responsible solutions. I have been around a long time, and I am heartily sick of little pilot programs that get put in annual reports pretending as if governments or business are actually doing something. So what we work on is to get governments to introduce legislation, new procurement practices, so that the change is right across the economy and the society. And if you have the right sort of transition programs, then people and businesses can adjust very easily. And of course they want to, because they're worried about the state of the planet. We have 4 particular programs we're working on. One, of course, is the wonderful Ocean Action Pod. Secondly, our allied group, the Boomerang Alliance, is running plastic-free places programs in Adelaide, Queensland, Victoria and New South Wales, where we actually help businesses change their procurement chain, give them guides on what are good products, avoid the greenwash products, the prices and where they can get them, what the responses of the consumers will be, and we're finding that really helps people, very busy business people, get over those decisions which previously were barriers. Thirdly, we do a lot of campaigning to get governments to introduce new legislation, such as the bans in Adelaide, South Australia and Queensland, and the ACT, which are coming in this year, and they will have very important impacts right across the board. And thirdly, we produce research and educational material if people really want to know more about this problem. But honestly, the solutions are there.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That's a really positive message, actually. The solutions are there, so it's just now time for us to start taking it on board. Does anyone have any questions for Jeff? Or we've got we've got here a fabulous artist. So I'd like to ask her some questions because we've got the plastic exhibitions here, and I just want to ask Marina. Marina, can you explain to the audience about your work, what you do, and what materials you use?
So can you hear me? Yes. I lived in Bondi in the 1900s, and I moved to Los Angeles, and I immediately noticed how much rubbish was washing up on the beaches, and it was very shocking to me. And then I moved back here 6 years ago, and only to find just as much rubbish. So I have been collecting it purely what washes up on the beaches, local beaches, all eastern suburbs beaches. I don't really go elsewhere. And it's phenomenal. I have a room completely full of what I find. And that's my material for my art. And my art is about raising awareness about the materials that we are using, once throwing away, no away, and how we can be better stewards of the earth.
Thanks for that, Marina. Marina, I'm just going to ask you, because you said you have a whole room of things that you've collected. So I'm just trying to, you'd be a declutterer's dream, actually. But all of this is for your artistic endeavour. But can you tell us, what is the weirdest thing that you've ever found, ever collected?
I always have, kids are always asking me that. There's no kids here. Come on, kids. They're fascinated by that. And I say, well, you should ask me what I haven't found, because I've virtually found everything. So no kids here, I can say,
I think you can.
Dildos? I have actually.
Plastic, okay.
Yes.
You have or you haven't?
I have.
Oh my gosh.
Quite a few. And the inserts for the, the chicken fillet. The inserts for your...
Oh yeah, for the bras?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Weirdest things, I guess.
What kind of, I know you were saying that you were really concerned about what was washed up on the beach. So how did you feel when you saw all those things, and that led you then to your art? But what was your initial reaction?
Well, when I first saw it in Los Angeles, because I lived on Bondi, as I said, I don't remember ever seeing rubbish, but I may have been blind to it. I don't know. When I first saw it, I thought, how did we get here? Like, how did this become acceptable? And it just gets worse and worse, and it becomes more and more acceptable. Most people ignore it as if it's just the way we live. So my feeling is basically one of disbelief for a start, and then it's kind of like the stages you go through for death. anger. I don't know what they are exactly. I'm still in the anger stage.
All right. That's a good space to be, actually, because it makes you very proactive. So you're very proactive, Marina. But what do you think of just everyone, all of us? What do you think we could start to do?
Well, I'm totally preaching to the converted here. There's only one audience. So you guys all know. Do you know? I should ask you. You're the audience. Do you know? Things that we can do individually.
Just pollution and plastics. Talk to your colleagues at TAFE.
Oh, you take your own
Yes, always take your own everything. Cup. Don't need a straw. Bags.
And if you forget, what do you do if you forget?
You don't have
You
it.
go without.
Or you
Don't
exactly. We have to inconvenience ourselves. We have to learn to be inconvenienced, because that is the state we're at. Everything, there are other things too, obviously. I'm wearing completely thrift shop or found clothing. Like, I find clothes, jewelry I find on the street all the time. I was wearing a shirt that I found on the street. I can't let anything go by, and if I don't keep it and wear it, I will take it to Salvo's or Vinnie's or whatever, or I will try to sell something on Gumtree. I sold some speakers yesterday, speaker stands, for $40 on Gumtree that someone had just chucked out. I mean, I found 17 really beautifully framed needlepoint, handmade needlepoint in very ornate frames on the street. The other day I was about to go to landfill, which is where everything ends up that's on the street. It ends up in the landfill. Don't kid yourself that someone's going to pick it up, because generally speaking they do not. So don't, everything can have a second home. You can repair it. There's very little that really needs to go into the landfill.
Actually, that's great advice. Thank you, Marina. Thank you so much. I think that's it, isn't it? We think ourselves, just our little selves, doesn't make much difference, but it's the one drop in the ocean, isn't it? We all participate to improving our environment. We've got a big gun here. We've got Peter the counsellor.
No.
Yeah, so, Peter, would you join us, please? I know you're out of the shade now, I'm so sorry. But we'd like to know, what is Council currently doing to tackle plastic pollution?
I'm going to come at this a slightly different way when we talk a little bit more, but I think what's important to note is that probably 70 to 80 or 90% of Council's outdoor staff is spent keeping the environment clean for our community. We have beach cleaners, mechanical running on beaches, sometimes twice a day in summer. We have outdoor crews on beaches every day of the whole year, cleaning up before and after people. We have a recycling centre where we accept so much material for formal recovery and recycling. We have outdoor staff working in streets cleaning up the leaves before they wash down the gutters and come down to the beaches. There's so much attention given to the problem, but really your council is spending, if you like, the bulk of its staff time trying to either remove that material before people enjoy the environment, or unfortunately cleaning up after them after they've enjoyed the environment and getting ready for the next wave of people. And it's quite a sad situation, if you like, that your rates, or so much of your rates, is spent on just the types of things that you would hope people would do naturally, because they don't do that at home, I presume. And yet, the council has to spend so much of the ratepayers' resources cleaning up before and after all these people enjoy the beautiful beaches that we have in Randwick.
Peter, thank you for that. That's a really good point. So can the council, any ideas about how the council can I say, educate their residents? Because it seems like we're the weak link here.
You know, I'm not sure the weak link's not a fair statement, but I understand where you're coming from. Education is all the time, and you know, you do a great job, and the council wants to engage with the Boomerang Alliance and the Ocean Action Pod because you help get the message out in a really important way where people are and where they're enjoying themselves. And whether they come up or not, they still see it, and they'll stand back a little bit. Like, people don't always want to come up and find out exactly what you're doing, but that's part of the education and the behavioural change that we're trying to do. Obviously, council and, if you like, governments often try and do this as well, but we've got to do it more, not just scientifically, but we've got to get it so people relate to the message. And there was a couple of campaigns. Jeff's probably as old as I am in terms of environmental activism, I hope, and he'd remember the It's a Living Thing campaign in New South Wales.
Yeah, I remember the books.
I mean, you know, it was there for a long time because behavioural change takes a long time. If you think about, and I can remember, you know, the idea of picking up after my dog when I was a young lad, walking the dog around, going to basketball, you know, I would look around and hope nobody was noticing, and I ran off with the dog and ignored it. These days, there's just straight out peer pressure. Adults and children alike won't let you get away with letting your dog drop stuff and not being picked up. Cigarette butts, you know, we've got the new push on plastic bags. You know, unfortunately, we want to see it all happen by tomorrow, but behavioural change and community education, you know, it does take a long time, and it takes persistence, and it takes a whole different wave of thrusts and parries and prongs to get the message across to people, and usually where they are doing it. Not at home, not when they're sort of calmly sitting in somewhere and it's all comfy. They've got to get the message wherever they are, wherever these events and actions and problems are taking place.
Thank you, Peter. Actually, just to highlight that point that you made, how is the council supporting maybe the residents here to reduce their single use of plastic? Because that seems to be the big problem. And as you're talking about council pickups, advice.
Single-use plastics is a symbol of the consumer problem we have across the board. So, you know, council stopped or banned single-use plastics in its own operations more than a year and a half ago. It's taken 6 months to try and make sure that the organisation doesn't have the bits and pieces left. And a year after that, we tried to move to make sure that all council-supported events in the public domain wouldn't have plastic as well. But it's a hard go, and it's hard because of the convenience you talked about at the beginning. We have a recycling centre, and this recycling centre doesn't just take plastics. It takes all those problem wastes that people use conveniently, or they have to use it. We take cooking oils, car batteries, small batteries, clothing and textiles, single-use plastics, polystyrene packaging, electronic waste. And we were the first council in the recycling centre context that started a lot of the recovery and drop-off services for residents, like polystyrene packaging and textiles and e-waste. But I just want to emphasise single-use plastics is really a symbol of the overconsumption and the convenient lifestyles that we live. And I think, if anything, you know, let's focus on single-use plastics, and let's take action on climate change. But, you know, we've done studies of the overconsumption that goes on, and I think that, you know, it's just important in occasions like this to remind ourselves that the carbon footprint represents about 50% of the total consumption footprint. So if we actually do address climate change, we might be missing half the story. So we've got to try and keep on the case, and that's why we have all these problem wastes and single-use plastics that we can have dropped off at the recycling centre, and we're taking all these steps to try and cover the range of wastes, just like the Total Environment Centre does and Boomerang Alliance. But, you know, it's a message that really needs to be reminded to people in a non-negative way that our overconsumption lifestyle in Australia means that we're using individually the equivalent of 3 to 4 planets of resources a year. And if you had a credit card that you were over, you know, 300 or 400%, you know, you'd be in real trouble. And we are in really big trouble, but we're focusing on things because, you know, we can't always look at everything across the board all the time. But you know, the issue of overconsumption is symbolic of where the plastics problems come from. It's probably a very important precursor and continuation of why climate change is such a problem. Climate change is really a symptom of that overconsumption. And we've just got to try and, you know, stay positive and tackle as many of the issues as we can on an individual basis or on a council-wide basis, because you can't keep using 3 to 4 planets of resources every year. And in Canberra, it's about 8 planets of resources a year. In the US, it's 8 to 10 planets of resources a year. So, you know, we can't fix the US, obviously, they can't fix the US, but, you know, we've got to tackle this where we are, when we can, individually, and you know, try and get the message across to our neighbours and our friends and our networks, and just see if we can keep picking away at these issues in a collaborative and a positive and cooperative way, because it's not just single-use plastics that we need to deal with.
Thank you, Peter. Can I just ask you one more question before you go? Thank you so much for that information. Just thinking of that single-use plastics and plastics in general that get in our waterways, are you aware of any particular native species that's being affected by the plastics in waterways at this present time?
Look, of course, we've all seen the images of species of turtles and birds and whales, dolphins that are consuming plastics. We've got the statistics now on how much microplastics not only the wildlife are consuming, but human beings themselves are consuming. So, you know, in Randwick, the problem may not be as apparent, but obviously where you've got those pools of plastics forming great patches in the oceans and then breaking down into smaller plastics and swirling around, becoming bigger and bigger, you know, I think that by 2050, you know, there'll be more plastics in the ocean than fish. So, you know, you can't afford to get depressed about these things. You've got to just keep doing what you can and spread the message. And, you know, whether we're saving something because we're picking up those 3 items of plastic, like Take 3 message is, the council has gross pollutant traps that are catching the runoff that comes off our streets and capturing litter, which includes plastics, straws, cigarette butts, and a lot of organic material. We've all got to just keep reminding ourselves of the steps we can take and keep harassing and agitating for others that are in responsible positions to do the same. I think one other item that we probably didn't tackle is we've got to buy more stuff made out of recycled plastics. You know, there's no point trying to recycle it. We know it's being stockpiled. We've got to put pressure on all those organisations, those governments and those corporate organisations that have a huge billion-dollar spending power to close the loop on the markets and buy back those items that are made from recycled plastics. So there's lots of really strong positive things that are actually happening, but we've got to keep agitating and taking responsibility for that, you know, without telling everyone else what they need to do. Let's try and get more than our own house or our own council area in order, and, you know, spread the love, spread the message, make it positive, and keep doing stuff. You know, the great work that the Ocean Action Pod, I really want to say thank you for that. It's a thankless task and a lovely day to be up here when everyone else is in the water. But really, we really appreciate what you're doing and helping get the word out too. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Jeff. I guess the answer, what do you think? Everyone just need to start now, proactive. If you haven't started, now it's time to start. Thank you.